For a 6-hole stab binding project, you're going to need the following materials. You're going to need a paper for text block, also the paper for the covers, which should be thicker. You are going to need clamps, drawing tools, owl, and tapestry needle. Depending on how thick or thin your thread is, you want to use either the largest one in your kit or the medium one. The thread for this project should be thicker because it serves the decorative purpose. This is a different type of binding, but it's a similar one, so you want your thread to be thicker. You are also going to need a little strip of paper just to build up your template of where to punch the holes. We don't want to draw directly here. We want to draw it on the template first and then transfer it here. And you will need a ruler to do that with. When preparing the paper for this project, you can use any size paper you want as long as you do the math to see where the punch holes go. It could be any size. You want to cut paper lengthwise because we're going to be sewing right here. It's just the way this book is structured. It's easier to open it. When you open it up, you don't want to stitch over here because then you won't be able to open it comfortably. When you have your paper, you probably want to fold it, cut it this way and then stitch it from here, so it will be like half a sheet of this. You might want to use your square to square the paper off. Make sure that everything is on the 90-degree. So I cut my paper, several sheets, and I cut the top and back cover, which has to be exactly the same size as your text block, because we're going to be sewing it, and it's just the way it's done traditionally in this Japanese stab binding, that the cover and the inside text block should be the same size. So let's build the template now. I know that my paper is 5 inches long and I'm doing a 6-hole stab binding. So here's the example. The 6 holes include 4 main holes and then 2 smaller holes for the corners. Because if you don't have those corners, if you don't sew over here, your book is going to be flimsy on the corners and they're going to frail off, and you want to reinforce it, make it stronger. So I have 5 inches. And that's what I'm going to do on my template. The template, I just cut it to be 1 inch long, 1 inch wide. I'm going to place it down here so I'm starting measurement. And if I go to 5 inches right here, I will have exactly 1 inch in between for spacing for the holes. So I'm going to mark them down. So in other words, these are going to be called signature stations. And then I have my last one, which I'm going to cut right here. So this is my template. I only have 4 holes in here right now. I'm going to make the other 2. The way to do them is to take the small ruler that you have and then go from this hole over here to the corner of your template, like that. And the same thing here. So then you can measure this out, and somewhere in the center, so measure out the center in here. In the center is going to be your hole. So the same thing here. So these are the holes that I need to punch. I will then take my text block, make it all straight, and then I will clamp it. I will then take the template and I will put down the pencil marks of where my holes are going to go. Now you notice how I didn't put anything here. I can't, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take an awl and punch it right through. It's not going to go through right away, but at least the mark is going to be here already. So 4 main holes and then 2 holes for the corners, 6 holes. I will then punch my holes. You need to put something underneath. You don't want to punch directly into the mat or any table surface or anything. So put a piece of chipboard, leftover chipboard or something like this down, or a piece of wood, and then punch each of these holes. Make sure when you're punching that you hold your awl straight down. It's supposed to be in the 90-degree perpendicular to your table surface. You don't want to punch it like this or like that, only because you want the hole to be aligned, all the holes to be aligned when you're sewing. So let's see if we went through. Yes, we did. So that's pretty good. And now I just want to make sure that my needle can get through. I think this one is a little too thick. Might want to use the thinner needle for sewing because my thread is about this thick. So that should go right through. So that's good. Once it's going through, you want to make sure that your needle goes through freely, because while you're sewing, you're going to have several threads coming in and out from the same hole. So eventually it's going to get thicker and thicker, so it will be harder and harder to squeeze needle through. So make sure that you punch holes wide enough for the needle to go through freely and for your thread to fit in. So about this. On the other hand, you don't want to make the holes way too big because then it makes the book flimsy. So now we are ready to start sewing process. Because we're going to be going in and out multiple times from different holes, you are going to need 6 lengths of thread in order to do that. So I'm going to measure this like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And I usually give it just a little bit more, just in case. So this is how much thread we're going to use.